Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has endorsed his former rival, Raila Odinga, as his preferred presidential candidate in this year's election. In doing so, he left his own vice president, William Ruto, to fight for his political life. In Nigeria, the ruling party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, is in disarray, incapable of organizing a convention. In Zambia, former President Banda has died. He was 85. Today is Sunday, March 13th, 2022. It is 11:30 in New York City.
It is 8:30 in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
It's
It is
4:30
4:30
in
It's 4
West Africa. Let's now put it this way.
And it's 5:30 p.m. in Ukraine.
Wherever in the world you are watching us, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. I am Rudolph Okonkwo, and my co-host is Chido Onoma. Chido, say hello to our audience.
Hello and welcome. On the show today, we have the minority leader of the Senate in Nigeria, Senator Eyinnaya Abaribe, as our special guest. He will join us to talk about Nigeria's constitution review and Nigeria beyond the 2023 election. Senator Abaribe, welcome to 90 Minutes Africa.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Senator, we are happy to have you, and we welcome you to the show. Now, you have been in the Senate since 2007. That is about 15 years now. You have seen several constitutional review efforts in the National Assembly, even when your party, the PDP, is in power at the federal level. Most of them ended up as wasteful and unproductive efforts. What did the past constitutional efforts, why did they fail? What did they achieve? And why should Nigerians believe that this one is different?
Well, I will not classify what was done in the past as wasteful or that it didn't serve the purpose that we set out to do. I've been part of the constitutional work for the past 3 seasons. What has happened actually, and why I think that Nigerians do not have a lot of confidence is that Nigerians want a wholesale review of the Constitution. They want us to ditch the Constitution and do a brand new one, and then let everybody come in and then tinker with everything. But that is not our remit. The fact actually is that because we are elected under this Constitution, what we do with regard to the Constitution can only be amendments. It cannot be a wholesale review, the whole Constitution as it is. And so the amendments, as piecemeal as they are, continue to help to advance democracy in the country. So I think that is the reason why people don't think that this is something very useful. But it is, because the clamor that followed this particular one and what happened, the gender matter and every other thing that has been involved in it has made a lot of people to know that actually we need to pay a lot of attention to tweaking our constitution to serve our purposes.
Okay, so what about the people who say that the constitution, the current one, is not the people's constitution, that the people who did not play a part in the making of the constitution, they did not approve it, and that the setup is such that there is nothing you, members of the National Assembly, can do to fundamentally change it to make it workable? What do you say to those people who say that?
I think that in a sense, what they wanted, those who say that, is that you need to be able to start afresh. But the question there is, what will you have in the interim at the point at which you now say, let us not have constitutional order in the country. There's nothing that will be within to have law and order within the country and the government, so to say. Secondly, some people also say that it is necessary for the constitution to be done on the basis of ethnic groups coming together and deciding how they're going to rule themselves. But we have more than 300 ethnic groups, and counting. And so what that means, in effect, is that how would you make how will you make the choice? Who will decide who represents an ethnic group, for example? Some ethnic groups are so small, some are very large. And so you can ask yourself the question, what weight do you assign to an ethnic group and so forth? I think that basically what is going on is not really the constitution. I think the real problem is that we just have a set of leaders who do not care for the people, number one, and two, who do everything that is antithetical to the spirit of the Constitution. Let me put it that way. And I'll give you just one example so that you can see exactly what it is. Within the this constitutional review that we've just done, we had to take, I think the first one was financial autonomy for states. There is nowhere in the Constitution where states are supposed to be under or directed financially by states. Actually, the aspect of the Constitution that deals with that, which we have now abrogated, actually says that funds for states, for local governments, are supposed to go into a joint local and state account. And what now happens in that joint account is that the state is supposed to also contribute their own 10% to that account and then give out the funding to the states. But what now did we see in practice? In practice, the states now took over the joint account, and now we are deciding what a local government will get. That wasn't in the spirit of the Constitution. That's why I say that the problem is not really the Constitution. And we will continue to tinker with the Constitution. I think the real problem is the mindset of those who are in positions of authority and the way they bend the the laws, the Constitution, to their own ends, and that is really where the problem is.
All right. We will go to my colleague Chido. Chido, over to you.
Thank you so much, Senator Abaribe. You tangentially mentioned the gender bill in your comments about the Constitution. I would like to know why the Senate voted the way it did in terms of the provisions that many Nigerians consider would empower women.
I will not be able to give you an idea, but I can locate the reason in two places. One, our cultural habits, and secondly, religion. And over the ages, those two facets of life have always been used to oppress women. I voted for the three four aspects of the gender that was inside the constitutional amendment. And I actually went the next day when the women all came to the gate. I went to go and meet with them, and I told them that they should use the Freedom of Information Act to ask from the Senate president to have the list of all the people who voted the way they voted and use it to now put pressure on them through the women in their areas, because these are people who go out to seek for votes and they use women for looking for all the votes that they want. And we were we actually did a lot of work because I worked with the most of the female groups. I worked with Biodo Olujimi to talk to all the people who we felt were against the bill. Now, this is the process that we used in doing the constitutional amendment. There are committees, and each bill comes to that constitutional committee. The chairman of the constitutional committee is Senator Omar Agege, the deputy Senate president. Each state of the 36 states are represented in the committee. And then each member of the leadership, like myself, are members. Every female in the Senate is a member. Then, of course, if there's anybody who has special needs or disabled, or there are also members. Now, we had to debate each bill and voted on it in the committee and now agreed on it. And it is after we had done all that that we came to the second stage. And the second stage being to lay it on the floor of the House, and then there will be voting on it. So at the first stage, at the stage of the committee where we all met and we all canvassed this, everyone agreed. And these were people from all the states. And we thought that we had gotten a step forward and that we're going to pass these gender bills maybe without too much problem, because we didn't see the only one that we felt may not be accepted will be the one that prescribes more seats for women. But we knew that that would be a hard sell and something that we need to work hard on. And so we went around and we talked to most people and we got assurances. And we were surprised when we now got to the floor and we voted that it was overwhelmingly rejected. And that showed us that the influence of gender and cultural patterns among our people was still very, very strong and preeminent in the thinking of most of our people.
I'll ask the other arm of the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, says it will revisit those sections, particularly the three that people really think women deserve. Is it something the Senate? What can you tell us about the thinking of the Senate in that regard? Will the Senate yield to the opinion of majority of Nigerians on this?
What I can tell you is that the Senate um, is not considering revisiting the bills from the schedules that have been given to us as the leadership for the rest of the tenure.
So this is authoritative. Is there anything the women can do?
I work with them, and we have been doing interventions, and we are still putting pressure on the Senate to take a look again at it.
Yeah, so do you think it's a lost cause, considering your statement?
This is how it is. Each of those things is a separate bill. And because it's a separate bill, the procedure is that if a bill does not pass through in its third reading, which is what we just did, you now represent the bill, which means that the women, and we have talked with them, that we would like to represent it, just those three, as fresh bills that will have to be considered. The only snag is that because it's a constitutional amendment bill, it has to follow certain procedures. And the procedure is that it must also go back to the Constitutional Amendment Committee. And when it goes back to that committee, the committee will, and we're looking at the time frame, and we're looking at the, let's say APC is going to do their convention on the 26th. And after the signing of the bill, which stipulates that 180 days, that is the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act 2022, which was just signed on the 3rd of March, stipulates that 180 days to the election, there must be, all the candidates must be submitted to the INEC. In other words, if you count 180 days from the 24th of February, which I think is when the presidential election or the elections are going to start, it comes to the 24th of August of this year. If you go from the 24th of August this year backwards to be able to do all the congresses that will lead to the primaries and so forth, you may not really have anybody paying attention to it. People will pay attention to their survival in the political field.
So,
All right.
Okay, no, I was just going to say then we'll probably be looking at the next assembly. You can go on, Rudolph.
Okay, let's. Go ahead. Senator,
no,
go ahead.
I think so. I think we may just be looking at the next assembly because it's very easy to tell people, okay, don't worry, we're going to consider it, and then just hang them. So it's either we meet with the House of Rep, and there is an agreement to fast track it, and there is a real push to do that. It may be a little difficult for the timing to work very well.
All right, let's pause. I want to play a video for our audience, and then we will be right back. 1 minute video.
All over the world, there are certain rules which we don't need to be told about. Yes. And one of those rules is the fact that you cannot be a referee and a player in the same field. It's either you're a referee, yes, or you're a player. So, anywhere else in the world where democracy is properly practiced, like in Nigeria, we don't need to be told that if we want to run for office and we are appointed into an office, that we have to resign. That is a sine qua non that we don't even need to debate. Yet, here we are today in Nigeria, and people think that they can sit in an office and contest an election and become candidates and continue to sit in that office until the date of election. So how would we continue to debate democracy in this way? So, Mr. President, I think that merely looking at this and somebody a cursory look on this paper shows that this paper is dead on arrival.
Wow. So, Senator, that was you on the floor of the Senate, and people watched that and they were impressed, and they said that when it comes to the interest of lawmakers, that lawmakers, they know how to defend their interests, which means that, I mean, the people in the Senate voted against something that the president was pushing for, which was that the elected officials should remain there while they run for office. But the Senate, they were able to say no, it's not acceptable. And people wonder, why is it that when it comes to other things that are of importance to regular Nigerians, that the senators or the lawmakers in the National Assembly, they don't find a way to come together and say, we are going to do this, irrespective of our ethnicity, our religion, our gender, and everything. Why is that?
Well, you're asking me to go into the minds of all our people and decide how they react. I think that when things are of national importance and things are very um, really strike at the heart of democracy, we all come together. I was there when Yaradua was indisposed, and there was all this going back and forth, and all manners of things were being done to ensure that Jonathan never took over office. When the matter of transmission of letters from outside came, and we all also came together in the same manner and resolved the issue. What happened here is really not the personal interest of the senators. I think that has to be made very clear. There's nowhere else in the world, and we all know that you will be a minister and you want to run for office, and you will still stay as a minister, and while as a minister you will go and do primaries using your office, and after winning the primary you will still stay as a minister and continue to sit there until the date of election. So why would that happen? Anytime you do that, something will have to be left unattended to. So is either you're not attending to your office for which you have taken an oath of office to do everything. It's right there in your oath of office. Or you don't run, because if you now say, let me focus on my office, you will also miss the primaries. And so we had this thing happening. It never happened under the PDP government. From the time of President Obasanjo all the way down to the time of President Jonathan, anytime anyone had an interest, they would resign. But we now have this anomalous situation in APC, where serving ministers will be there as minister and go to contest, buy form, go to contest election to win the primaries of a particular seat. I mean, it happened with Fayemi. Even most recently, it happened with my friend George Mogalu, who is the head of internal waterways, inland waterways. He still went to go and do primaries, finished, came back. At a particular time, the head of NBC, I think, also went, did primaries, lost, came back to his office. And so how could that be? You know, for us, there are just some things that we ought not to codify. But because the Nigerian situation is such that people do things you don't expect them to do that are beyond the bounds of decency, it makes you, okay, so we have to put down every letter, every word. Stuff like this are not supposed to, we're not supposed to talk about it at all. That's what I was emphasizing on the floor of the Senate.
All right. So for our viewers, we are going to touch on so many topics. We are going to touch on the senator who is interested also to be the governor of Abia State. We are going to touch on the Biafran situation, the Kano, and every other thing. But while we get there, let me ask you. This is another issue that came up in the floor of the National Assembly, and that's about making a kind of a law that we say that if you're a public official, that your children will not be going to school abroad. And most Nigerians looked at it and they liked that because they felt that because most of our leaders, people in positions of power, their children are not there. That's why they let the university system to go the way it's going. They don't care. Their kids are not part of it. And we thought that, people thought that the Senate and the House would see this as a very good opportunity to make a statement to Nigerians and say, look, we are with you. We believe in this educational system that we have. But senators and House of Rep, they all, I think most people, they have voted to say, look, we have different kinds of rules or systems. One for people who are in leadership position, one for ordinary Nigerians. Why? Explain that to Nigerians. That's how Nigerians are thinking.
Rudolph, I don't think that you're getting it right. It was a motion that was brought up on the floor of the House. It didn't come to the Senate.
Okay.
I don't also think that when you get to the Senate, that the result will have been different. All the people that you see there, most of their children are also abroad. They are public officers too. So they have to make a law against themselves.
So they are protecting their interests. They are protecting their interests?
What you're saying, but I think we need to also go beyond this, I will say, cosmetic things. If you have good leadership, you will never get to this particular point. You will never get to this point where you will be thinking about, okay, let us stop somebody, because it's a slippery slope. When you go there, then the next step will now be, what else? Then the next one may now be, okay, so you can't go for any other thing, then you can't go for any other thing. Then, so that's why a lot of people felt, no, there are some fundamental, I would say, rights that you have in the Constitution, and that those things would be anti the Constitution. You have a right to education, really.
Of course,
and
Senator, we agree.
Anything that you do.
We agree. We agree.
It's in one sense, let's put it this way: our leaders in Nigeria ought to show example. What has been happening is that people feel that we say, do as I do, not as I do as I say, not as I do, which is the thing that those of us who are Christians, you're always told that your example is much better than whatever you say by mouth, because you can mouth anything. And I think that we at the end go back to the fundamental. And the fundamental is, when you have bad leadership, it will cascade down the line. And when it cascades down the line, everybody will indulge in it. And one of the, of course, very, very bad things that happen in Nigeria is that nobody pays any price for bad behavior. Look, we have been in this country for the past couple of weeks. We had some kind of dirty fuel brought from who knows where. We ought not to even have to import fuel. But that dirty fuel, they've been going back and forth. Look, if I'm president, the first person I will fire is the head of NMPC. So everybody sits up. But, people do stuff. Then, of course, they're ignored. And then, so because they're ignored, everybody continues to even do worse things, assuming that nothing will happen to them. And of course, nothing happens to them. We were reading the reports today that the Attorney General has written a memo, and they quoted the memo saying that Abba Kyari was no longer guilty, that nothing was found in money laundering against him and all that. So, so you find that people get away with all manners of things, and that is the issue. But when we now say, okay, let us codify it, let us say, let everybody who is a public servant, your child will not be, you're just dealing with part of the symptoms and not dealing with the fundamental. The fundamental is good governance.
Thank you so much, Senator. And I like the analogy now. So when it comes to the issue of constitution and reforming the constitution or getting a new constitution, you said that it's about implementing, getting the right people to implement it. And in this situation, you are also saying that it's really not about stopping people from sending their kids abroad. It's about getting the right people. But the Nigerians people are saying that since 1999, we've been waiting for that good governance to happen, and we haven't seen it. So we now want to put in things in place to stop people ideally, yeah, in an ideal situation, what you're saying is right, but we are not living in an ideal situation. So they are saying if we have to stop people from going abroad for medical treatment, let's put a law in place. Maybe that will force them to do the right thing, because we've been waiting for how many years now to get it that good governance, and we don't have it. And there's no hope that next 10 years we are going to have it.
Rudolph,
Yeah.
I did school certificate in 1974. When I did school certificate in 1974, those of us who had grade 1, we are all sent to East Central State Ministry of Education. They told us to come, and that we were given automatic scholarships. We were to go to Romania and all those places to study, technical things. I remember that my father called me and said, "Does it mean that you cannot pass entrance into the university here? That somebody's gonna give you to go to some?" I had to go to school here because schools here were okay. So the problem is, if schools here were okay and you could go to school here at minimal cost to anybody and had quality education, it beggars the mind that we give up and say, oh, it will never happen again, therefore we have to put a law to stop this or stop that. I don't agree with that. I think that the time has come for us to take the basics, because you put the law, and what has happened, which we know about putting laws in Nigeria, is that somebody will find a way of circumventing it. Then you put another law to stop the circumvention, then they will do another one. So we must have to deal with the fundamentals, and that is what I think ought to be done.
All right, Chido. Chido, you are muted. You can unmute yourself.
Yes. Thanks,
okay, go ahead.
Before we leave this section, I would like to ask one last question. I'm wondering that, if I'm not mistaken, for the first time, the National Assembly, the Senate particularly, went against the wishes of the president in terms of the amendment of that section of the Electoral Acts that you referenced in your presentation. I was wondering, not that it matters so much because you are in the opposition party, but do you see this as the Senate on a collision course with the presidency going forward?
No, I think that all that's happened is that it's dawning on everybody that the president is going to be a lame duck very soon. And so people are now freer to do what they want to do without fear of repercussion in some way.
All right. Chido, you have another question?
No, I was just going to, you can start.
Okay, let's change topics. Let's talk about Abia State. You indicated interest that you are going to run for governorship of Abia State. And in a video, which I wanted us to play, but I don't think we have it right now, you said you'll be the governor of everybody in Abia State. It doesn't matter where they come from. I know that there are issues in Abia and in Enugu State about zoning of the governorship position. How is it playing out in Abia State?
Well, the question of issues is that people bring up stuff, and when they want to get an advantage, of course, you say those things that you think will give you some kind of advantage. And so you come up with all this. For me, it's fairly simple. And it's simple in the sense that you either want good governance, you either want inclusiveness, you either want us to do the right thing, or you either want, or you just don't. In Abia, I can tell you that at any point that you said that people were supposed to come from somewhere, everybody ran for office there. And they ran for office, and sometimes they lost. So nobody ever said, oh, we are just leaving it for this area. But for me, I think that it's not Abia, it's Ali Igbo that we are all talking about. Our adage says, "Nani sino lo marama po nama." So, Ulani now, which is Ali Igbo, everywhere is in, I would say, in very dire straits. And it needs the type of leadership that will lead us out of the morass that we have found ourselves. And so I think that the best thing to do is not to continue to do those things that led us to where we are. So if you're doing, I think it's also said that you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. You just have to change your way of doing things. And I think that Ali Igbo now needs the best set of people. And they can come from anywhere. The same thing in Abia. Anybody in Abia who thinks that he is qualified, can provide the type of leadership that we need, should come out. That is the beauty of democracy. But to now circumscribe some and now say, oh, no, you can't do it because you come from here. You could have been the best person for the state. Why would you now keep yourself away? And so I'm going to and have put my heart on the ring, and I'm challenging everybody. If you're better, come out. Let us meet on a fair slate and let the people make their choice. That is all that we want. Because where we are today, this 21st century, we just cannot continue doing things the old way. Doing things the old way is what got us to where we are now. And I don't think that happens. And if you go back and you talk to people in Abia, they will tell you very clearly what their mind is. Their mindset is, let's get the best man for the job. And I'm the best man for the job.
All right, so I'll get you though to get involved, but let me say this: we heard from a lot of people from Abia State.
Well, I'm very sorry, not the best man only, the best man or woman for the job.
Okay, we heard from a lot of people from Abia State. They basically said that Abia State is one of the worst governed states in even on our comments here, worst governed states in Nigeria, not even in the East, in Nigeria, and then they wonder. I mean, they know you are what you did at the National Assembly, but some people are wondering: are you coming back to the state because you couldn't make changes at the National Assembly? You know, someone like you and Ekweremadu going back to run for the governorship. Is it because at the federal level you couldn't? Because there are some people also on the comment section who are saying that they were expecting you to run for president and you are going to run for governor of Abia State. Is it that for the past since 1999 that Abia State on that one party has not made any progress? What is the driving force?
Yeah, I think we talked about the driving force, and that the driving force is simple. We want to change Ali Igbo. And if we don't, I'm sorry, we can't do it by this question of one person bringing his successor, another person bringing another successor, another person. I mean, it will just not take us anywhere. And we know that, and we all know. And the I think the amusing part is that we all know that this is not good, and yet, we let our emotions rule our mind. No, this is the time for very good and hard calculations about how the interests of the people will be protected and will be enhanced, with the proper set of and type of rulers that we will have. All that this talk about, oh, we expect you to run for president. Not everybody is meant to run for president. One person will. And I'm supporting all our people who are running for president. I'm supporting Anim, as Anim has come to meet the Senate caucus. The Samuhu Abunwa has come. I have had discussions with Peter Obi, and I've been encouraging him. And these are people that I think that are part of our first 11 that we should always put forward. So everybody has his own vision. My vision is that we cannot let our place continue to degenerate the way it is.
All right, Chido. Chido, you're muted.
You're muted. I really can't hear anything.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. So there are a lot of interest in other topics, so we can do that. Quickly, let's look at the situation in the South is deplorable in terms of social and economic indicators. And one of the things, at least in recent history, that one could attribute to the situation is the sit-at-home order. We don't know, there is no clarity in terms of where this is coming from. Sometimes IPOB denies it, sometimes they say it's from them. What's your take? How do you see the situation in the Southeast? And perhaps you could also touch on the militarization of the zone and what needs to be done.
When the sit-at-home started, what we thought was that it was going to be just a few days since Nnamdi Kanu was going to be brought to court, and that life would return to normal. Everybody was shocked and surprised that it continued, and so we tried to engage, and we are under the auspices of Ohaneze. They made me chairman of a committee to talk to all the different youths and agitation groups and so forth. And we met in Enugu. In my committee was Chris Anyanwu, Senator Ben from Enugu, and Barrister Uchenna from Ebonyi. And when we met, and Osita Chidoka too, well there, and what came out from all these youths who were agitating was that, all that they want is that Nnamdi Kanu will be released, and if he's released, then there will be no problem, and so on and so forth. And we told them that he's undergoing trial, and so that the best we can do at this moment is that we're going to see how we can talk with everybody else and engage with the federal government and see whether we can have a political solution to it. But as for if it was going to be a legal solution, that is going to take a long time. And after that interaction, we took the report to Ohaneze, and Ohaneze took the report to the Southeast Governors Forum and with the Southeast leaders. And we all considered it, and there was an agreement that there was going to be an engagement with the federal government. And that engagement ultimately happened when Sam Basilika Amechi and a few others went to see the president and made I'm sorry, I have to go and tell them to put on the generator because public power just
went off. Okay.
So if it cuts off, don't worry, it's back.
Okay.
Yeah. So that engagement with the president, and I think everybody saw when it happened. Ultimately, there was nothing that came out of it because the president said he was going to look into it and get back. And then eventually, through a press I think an engagement with the media, they now said, that this was an ongoing case and they were going to let the case continue. And so we also went back to do some further engagements. And in this engagement, myself, Senator Kweremadu, Bishop Ona, Bishop Onuoha, and Oke Emuche of Ohaneze, we came as a small group to engage with Nnamdi Kanu. I went to the DSS and met with him. And in our interactions with him, we specifically wanted to find out from him this issue of sit at home and everything. And he said to us that he had told everyone that he's not in support of it, and that he should, and that people should go about their daily lives without fear and that he is not, he did not order, and is not continuing with that. And so we came back and we sent feelers out to the IPOB people and all that. And the IPOB people came out and said, yes, it's correct. We have said that nobody should do this anymore. Yet, every Monday, our people just sit at home because everybody's scared. Nobody can go out. Nobody's sure who is. And of course, some elements too from IPOB, some of them based abroad, continue issuing counter orders, threatening all manners of things. And of course, with the assassinations and the murder going on everywhere, nobody is very sure of what is going on. My take is that most likely some rogue elements have infiltrated and taken over. And so nobody knows who actually has the mandate to speak for IPOB, for Nnamdi Kanu himself, and all that. And so you now have all manners of people saying things and you're not sure. And so it's a big, big difficulty in the Southeast at the moment. I was in Enugu a short while ago, about a month ago, and we were meeting at the inauguration of the Chamber of Commerce, and they all said, commerce, industry, and everything is dying. And it is directly linked with this insecurity in and around the Southeast. And I told them, and I said to them, see, this is what I heard from Nnamdi Kanu physically, face to face. And so we need to know who is doing this. Who are these people that are insisting that the place must be destroyed? They cannot be Igbos. They cannot say that they are doing anything for Igbo. You don't cut off your leg to spite anybody. Or, as the cliche, you don't cut off your nose to spite your face. So we are in a very, very difficult situation. And this is also not the time to trade blames, to say whether there was leadership in Alibo or no leadership and all that. I think this is a time for everyone to come together to say, we need to resolve this issue.
Yeah, so talking about... Sir, I'm just wondering, you touched on an important point there about coming together to resolve this rather than blaming people. What concretely, you are a leader in the National Assembly, you are from the Southeast. What concretely do you think you can do in terms of mobilizing the forces, the government, the state governors? Do you think they are doing enough? Something has to... I don't know if there is any behind the scene, but people are not seeing anything. Nothing appears to be happening. Whether then you say, oh, it's not enough, or it's not going well. What is happening? Do we know what is happening currently?
We have had several meetings, I can tell you. And Of course, because the Southeast at the moment, we have two APC states. Of course, their governors are APC. We have two PDP states, and we have an APGA state. And so at every point that we meet, at every point that people come together, at every point that there is this push for anything to happen, as much as people would like to work together, the political party differences and all other things come in, because as people are somebody makes a comment, then it's misinterpreted in certain ways, and some people are not so sure. When people say, let us go and confront the federal government on this, some people say, no, we will prefer that we will not talk to them, or let us engage them in a different way and all that. And so it is this lack of, I would say, the leadership of the Southeast that is part of the problems that we have. Usually, because the executive power is in the hands of the governors, so automatically the governors become the topmost leaders in every state. Even we, as those in the National Assembly, our engagement will come at the point at which the governors will come and say, let us all go and engage the federal government at the executive level, and for us trying to do things, whatever we can do at the legislative level. But I can tell you that maybe we have not paid enough attention to all the things that are happening. Either that, or that we say, well, maybe if we leave it, it will die off on its own. But we have seen that is not. Rather, the dimensions continue to grow. And that has made resolution of this issue very difficult. But I can tell you that everybody is worried. We have the clergy with us. We have everybody coming in. And the clergy, they said, okay, so we'll be talking on the pulpit, we'll be doing this. But then, fundamentally, if you don't have security, you will not be able to move around, you will not be able to do your business, you will not be able to, generate income in some way. And we're seeing a gradual movement of businesses and all that away from the Southeast. Some banks,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly.
some banks spoke with me, and I encouraged them. I said, no, there's no need. Don't shut your this and that. But of course, every Monday they shut down, because they said, if we open, even when we don't think anything is going to happen, some miscreants are going to want to come and loot our. And of course, because of the attacks that had been earlier been done on the police formations, on Mondays, the police stays indoors. You don't see them around. So you don't just have that feeling that you're very, very safe in that place. It's really a very difficult thing.
Senator, let me continue on that line, because the situation in Imo State is worse than any other place. You have a Bubago and the security agencies trying to deal with the insecurity. That's the term they use. And at the end, you have villages being ransacked, people moving out of villages and towns in Imo State, young men leaving because they are all targets. So as a federal lawmaker who is watching this, I know that you don't have executive power in Imo State or anywhere in Nigeria. Do we now just wait until what happens? Because we're beginning to see what is looking like the beginning of having IDP camps in eastern Nigeria. Or are you not seeing that possibility?
No, we are seeing it too, and we are very worried. We are very, very worried. And we have also engaged with our colleagues who come from those areas, the House of Rep members and the Senate, and the matter is very, very bad for them. They can't even go home, and some areas they can't even go to anymore. It comes back, I think, to the fact that we need to stay with the federal government because they have complete control of the security agencies and things, and work hand in hand with them to be able to, because what is going on there is no longer anybody talking about Biafra and all that. All that is going to be pure criminality mixed with all manners of things like voodoo, human sacrifice. Oh, look, it's a very, very difficult situation. I'm sorry, the power has gone again. You can see that all of a sudden it's back. So it's back again. That's the way of life that we have here.
I know we are rounding up, but I wanted to see if you can connect all these things back to where we started, which is the Constitution and reforming the Constitution. You just acknowledged that the federal government has control of the security apparatus in the country. That even if you are the governor of Abia State today, you may have difficulties dealing with situations like this. So I wanted to know what going back, summarizing everything. Don't you think that until we deal with this first problem, that even you, Senator Abaribe, as governor of Abia State, may have to confront these issues, and you may run into the same problems that the current people who are running these states in the East are facing, which is that you don't have control of the police. Are you going to, for instance, establish a bubago if you were governor of Abia State? How are you going to handle it?
Let's put it this way. The Southwest governors came together, agreed to set up a Moteko. The federal government threatened and did everything, and they were able to show that they have some latent residual powers for them to do that, since it has to do with life and property. And they did it, and they were able to calm down part of it. Look, what happened to Ebubago was simple. There was no formal structure. Listen, the General Mahi was the head of the at the first time that he was being mooted, and we put him as in charge of security and all that. He eventually resigned and said he's not going to continue. Why? His brother, Dave Umahi, governor of Ebonyi, was also chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum. And so when we cornered him and found what was the problem, it turned out that the governors were simply paying lip service to it. They didn't contribute money. They didn't bring everything together. They now said, oh, we're going to do it individually within our states. And so those states that had structures already in place we could go ahead with it, and the other ones couldn't. So there was no synergy among them. And that, of course, was a setback. And this was at the critical time that we all needed everybody to, all hands to be on deck to resolve the issue before it became what it is now. And where it is now is, there's nothing we can do. Somebody just posted that all politicians are dishonest. And I said I should stop talking that I'm dishonest.
No.
That's not what we see when we do.
No, but let me ask you, because some people were asking. There's a question here about the security agencies burning down houses. We've seen pictures in Imo State and videos. What are we doing about that? Is it the right way to deal with this issue?
We used to engage the security agencies, and we said you should have a rule of engagement. And in those rules of engagement, we want to know what you do, A, B, or C, and whatever. If you are in this kind of situation, how do you listen? I'm sorry to say that maybe the type of training that our people, our security agents, and all that get does not lend itself to a more sophisticated way of dealing with issue. For me, I would have thought that first thing should be gathering the information that you need. These people are in somewhere. People deal with them. They eat. They trade with people. They move about. They have friends. They have phones, and all that. And so, if you really needed to engage, you engage in a way that you will be able to identify how this is being done and then take it from there. It's simply the degeneration of everything in our society. It's part of it is this. And we just have to continue to rebuild. We just have to continue to do the right things. We just have to continue to try as much as possible to, get things right. Let me just put it that way. I can't go more than days. I'm not in an executive position, but I know that at the point at which we had a very difficult problem of kidnapping in the 2008, 9, 10, we were able to get part of the intelligence ourselves and took it to the authorities and got President Jonathan to agree that we should bring in the military and resolve the issue. And it was resolved in Abia, with the complete and everyone from the governor to us in the National Assembly to those in the State House of Assembly, and everybody came together then. But what we are seeing in the Southeast is that, okay, so there's something going on in Imo State. And so the man in Anambra maybe may not think that it affects him, but of course it affects him because there's a boundary. And so the man in Abia may not think that it affects him, but of course it affects him because there's also a boundary. And people may be dislodged there and they run away and go to another place. And, you will just have all these things happening. So I think that the level of investment that need to be put down to be able to get the type of results that we want is not forthcoming.
Thank you so much, Chido. I don't know if we're rounding up. Actually, go ahead.
When you say rounding up, is this session or the program? We still have about 25 minutes.
Yeah, but he has an hour for us, so he has stayed more than 1 hour.
Okay. So I have two questions for you. One is on the situation in the Southeast vis-a-vis IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu. And you touched on the issue of the role of the federal government in all of this. Somebody mentioned in the comment section of the program to say, and I'm quoting him verbatim now, he said, "You cannot beat a child and tell him or her not to cry." There is a sense in which people think that the situation of Nnamdi Kanu has a lot to do with what's going on in the Southeast. Do you think there is, what solution? Is there a political solution? What kind of solution do you think we can put on the table to try to resolve his case? And then,
of course, there's always political solution everywhere. Sunday Igboho's case is just being resolved politically. You will see Banji Akintoye and some other people going across to that place to do it. I think it all has to do with what is in the mindset of the federal government and how they are engaged. All our, I will say, Igbo brothers who are close to the federal government, we are talking with them. They are also doing their best. I know that our people have this feeling that we are just, things go differently for us. And of course, I've always sat on the and I've stood on the floor of the Senate to make this assertion that you cannot treat people differently and get. But I don't think that this what is going on in and around the most state today can be put on the pedestal of Nnamdi Kanu being incarcerated. It's not. It's pure criminality that is going on. Kidnappings, all manners of things going on, beheadings. So how can anybody justify that? And I've said that we have seen Nnamdi Kanu, and he has said, no, this is not me saying this. So, and in fact, we got to this ridiculous situation. Some other people have also given orders from outside the country. So today, we have somebody saying he's giving an order from Finland, another person gives an order from Kuwait, another person gives an order from somewhere else. I've had to engage our people all over the world. I talked to the World Igbo Congress people. I've talked to the Congress of Deputies in South Africa. I've talked to all of them. And the matter is also, as much as we have issues, we are engaging with those issues. That's the reason why we're there. But nobody can tell me that you can commit mayhem and murder and all that and say that it is on behalf of who? You're killing Igbos. You're destroying Igbos. You're murdering Igbos all on. And so how does that have anything to do with the federal government? So I don't agree that the Nnamdi Kanu situation is the reason for this. I just think that some type of, all type of other people have come in. And I mean, if you talk to Nnamdi himself, he will tell you that this part of bestiality that is going on in and around our area is not part of what he agreed on. So I don't see how we can situate it there.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator.
No. Before he goes, sorry, I'd have to take this because they've been pestering me, and it's a personal thing. So, my co-host Rudolph talked about the Abia State as perhaps the worst governed state since the return to, and we're looking at from 1999 up until this moment. People are asking, if you are elected governor next year, what will you do differently? What specific things would you do to lift up that state?
Well, it's very easy for you to mouth off all that you're going to do. You have all your agenda. You get all the.
No, but tell us one or two specific
But I
things.
can tell you one thing.
Yeah.
I will provide leadership. People will do what is in the best interest of the citizenry of that state. And I will bring one thing that is no longer there. I will bring sanity to that place. Because right now, your guess is as good as mine, what's going on.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Abaribe. We really appreciate this time you spent with us.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm sorry, and I'm very sorry that our power situation was breaking up the thing, but I'm very glad. You can call me anytime. I know that you get your guests, but I'm here.
I will always call you as we go along this process. We'll call you.
And if there's anything that is specific that is happening for which you need to know from me, I'm just a phone call away.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for obliging us.
Chido, I'm very glad to.
Yeah, best of luck in your campaign.
All right, then. Thank you.
All right. So when we come back, we will take just a few minutes break. When we come back, we are going to have a conversation with the audience about some of the issues that the senator raised during this time. So stand by and stay with us.
All over the world, there are certain rules which we don't need to be told about. Yes. And one of those rules is the fact that you cannot be a referee and a player in the same field. It's either you're a referee, yes, or you're a player. So, anywhere else in the world where democracy is properly practiced, like in Nigeria, we don't need to be told that if we want to run for office and we are appointed into an office, that we have to resign. That is a sine qua non that we don't even need to debate. Yet, here we are today in Nigeria, and people think that they can sit in an office and contest an election and become candidates and continue to sit in that office until the date of election. So how would we continue to debase democracy in this way? So, Mr. President, I think that merely looking at this and somebody a cursory look on this paper shows that this paper is dead on arrival.
We can come to normalcy in Nigeria is to have a return to the original agreements that founded this country. Those agreements are very clear in their fundamentals. One of them, federal system. Nigeria is today not a federal system. Let's stop lying to ourselves. The word federal was brought to life by the American election. Each state has its own electoral body because it is essentially a country within a larger country. That was what our fathers agreed. Nobody agreed a situation where a clueless man will sit down inside a rock and begin to issue edicts and diktats to every other person. Nobody signed on for that in 1960. All the constitutional conferences, beginning from 1948 all the way to the 1951, all the way to 1960, each and every one of them was very clear and unambiguous. Nigeria was meant to be a federal system based on parliamentary democracy. It wasn't by accident that our fathers settled on parliamentary democracy. They wanted to make democracy as close to the people as it could be. So it simply meant that if you're a parliamentarian, you knew your people knew you. It was the aggregation of the parliamentarians that determined who became the prime minister, and they were also the ones at the regional level who determined who became the premier. So democracy was devolved. It was easier for the people to become involved. What we have today is not a democracy. What we have today is not a federation. We've just become a nation of liars who readily accept every lie that we are told. Nigerian who is still hanging around waiting for 2023 to change Nigeria is a fool. Line 20 Daily Faro me up and ask them to become president of Nigeria. 20 of me, 20. Multiply their brain power by 10, factor of 10, and then force them to operate the 1999 Constitution with the governance system that is enshrined in it. We shall fail spectacularly. The problem of Nigeria can never be resolved by personnel changes. The system is designed with impunity undergirding it, and it can never deliver anything positive to the Nigerian peoples. Be those Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Fulani, whatever they care to be. Make an Igbo man president of Nigeria in 2023 and force him to operate the 1999 Constitution. Complete waste of time. Igbo will continue to suffer the brunt of the wickedness of the Nigerian state. Every night.
All right. Thank you so much for staying with us. Chido, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, what is your take on Senator Abaribe's answers to our questions.
Well, I think he did his best to address the issues as a politician would. Some people have accused him of trying to dodge the question, for want of a better expression. And some are also thinking that because he's running for office, he wants to be as mild as possible. But I think he was refreshingly candid in his answer. You may agree or disagree with him, but he showed some degree, a great degree of knowledge of the issues, and also for one who has been part of the process for so long, his experience came to the fore in his responses to the question. But of course, like some members of the audience are saying here, it's one thing which the senator himself talked about, to mount these things. When you eventually get to power, whether the system would allow you or whether you would provide the kind of leadership you say the state needs, for example, to lift it up. But at least we have something to hold him to if he does eventually win the governorship race in Abia State. And Abia State have passed through Aba and some of the cities in Abia State in the last couple of years. And as you mentioned, it's truly the worst governed state in Nigeria. And to think of the potentials that a state like that has, a gateway to different states in the southeast, a business hub in Aba, and so on, that governors in the states since 1999 have not managed to, fix it, to make it work. And it's sad to note that the first governor, and when I say first, I mean from the Fourth Republic, is now planning to run for president. So it's
all right. So let's hear from our audience who've been watching. If you want to join us, we posted the link on our comment section. Click on it, and then you join us, and you'll be part of this conversation. Anybody who is out there interested in joining us, we can have that conversation. So we're getting a lot of comments on the social media, and a lot of them are very interesting. People generally have this distrust of politicians, and they made it clear, in their comments. But we have about 10 to 15 minutes more on this program. So if you are interested in letting us hear your viewpoints, come on social media and join us for the conversation. All right. So Chido, continue with your observation.
Yeah, so having said that, in terms of Abia State, I think the senator and other leaders, both within the state and outside, between states in the southeast and in the National Assembly, can indeed do more. There seems to be a level of helplessness in terms of the killings. I don't know what kind of strategic thinking that is going on to even understand who the people that are behind these killings, murders, and so on, the nature, the character, and so on. If we understand that, and my expectation is that by now, the government would have been able to commission some kind of group to look into this, to give a report that this is our thinking, a report that can then be beneficial to the security agencies and so on. I would think that by now the states in the southeast would have come together to present some kind of memo to the federal government to say this is what we are thinking, this is our position, this is how we think this issue can be resolved. Then if the federal government refuses to do something, then it's a different matter entirely. But that has not to be happening.
Okay, Chido, we have a guest. I know you like to hear your voice, but let's go to Japheth. How are you?
Fine, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Sorry, I just hook up with the program now. Because I heard this barrister saying something about the Igbo president and the rest. But one thing I'm thinking about, if the Igbo want to be the president, on what constitution? Is it the old constitution or the new one? Because the constitution we are using now is useless. Sorry to use this word, it's useless. At least we need to bring out something good for the new generation or for the Nigerians. You understand me? We cannot deal on this old constitution, because we deal on this old constitution. It means that the northern or the Kabad, they are still ruling us. That's
so Jeff, let me ask you, where are you? Where in the world are you? Are you in Nigeria?
I'm calling from Germany.
Germany. Okay, you're calling from Germany. Okay. So you are aware that the constitution is what we have. They have not changed the constitution, and nobody seems to have a mechanism to make that change. And the election is coming up next year. So what do you think should happen? There shouldn't be any election.
My brother, there's no. You don't cancel the election. On what ground?
Okay.
Which of the constitution are we dealing on? Is it the new one or the old constitution?
There's no new one. Do you have a new one?
There's no new one. We should scrap. Everybody is shouting about this constitution. I don't know why the government.
Okay. Now let me. I'm not talking for the government. I'm just weighing your opinion. So the senator, we asked that question, and the senator was saying that no, we can't have a vacuum. We can't have a situation where there is no constitution, where the country will not be governed in any way. And then what happens? How do we transition? How do we get a new constitution? What is your opinion on that?
I know I think inside this year they talk about they wanted to create a new constitution. Up to today, there is no response or there is no good answer. So in fact, I don't know. In fact, my brother, I know you live in Europe. Europe, their yes is yes, their no is no. But Africa, I don't know. I don't really know, my brother.
Thank you so much, Japheth.
Japheth, thank you. Let's talk to Chris. Hold on, okay? You can stand by. If we don't have enough people, you can continue the conversation. Go ahead, Chris. What happened to Chris? Chris, can you hear us? Okay, maybe Chris was just hanging out. He didn't mean to talk.
No, I think he's there, but his connection.
Okay, Japheth, so continue. You're muted, Japheth.
Nigeria for so long now. The thing that I don't know, the hospitality, the welfare. In fact, I don't think I can be able to, I have family there, but my major problem, I've been in Europe more than 20 some years. I only traveled to Nigeria once.
What year did you go to Nigeria?
Oh, my brother, it's more than 15 years now.
Okay, Nigeria has changed since then.
I know, no, Nigeria has changed, but we should leave it like that. I'm still here. I know here is not my country. I know. I have my mother there. I have my father there. You understand? My junior ones, I have them there. But my brother, I don't have that mind to go back to Nigeria. There's no day you open your telly or your social media, every day killing. You live here in Europe, you cannot see. It's not easy. It's not easy to hear that somebody went to go and kiss other person. It's not done.
All right, thank you, Japheth. Chris is back. Let's give him a minute or two. We're almost out of time.
Chris, go ahead.
Chris, go ahead if you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you. I just want to say it's quite unfortunate that a lot of people, and which is true, that we have a problem with our constitution. But if politicians are to do at least half of what are contained in the present constitution in terms of people-oriented policies, I think this country will be better. As much as we all yearn. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
As much as we yearn for constitutional review and, if possible, the discardment of the constitution generally, I will say that the problem is about the people. It's not necessarily only about the constitution, because if you have the best of constitution and you do not have people who have political will and who have the heart of, make changes, and the people at heart, it will not go anywhere. So for me, basically, as much as I agree that we need to either discard the present constitution or make amendments serious to them, I feel so strongly that the problem is us. We need a total reorientation.
Thank you
Take,
very
for instance,
much.
the issue of these.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear from Paul quickly. We have just 2 minutes.
Paul, go ahead.
Paul, you have a minute quickly.
Good evening. Is that Mr. Udoka? You are not always putting on your uniform anymore. Your doctor cap and your doctor uniform.
Paul, thank you for joining us. What did you follow the program?
No, so I just want to ask, what's the topic about? I'm just coming in now.
Yeah, just coming in. Okay.
Nice
to see you. Thank you.
We're about rounding up. Maybe you join us next week. We have 1 minute to round up now.
Next week, join us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining.
Mr. Udoka. No, this one we are going to sue Mr. Udoka. So you don't want to tell me the topic?
No, we are doing constitution review, but the guest is gone. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we have 2 more people who are joining us. Let's see if we can get them to say one thing. Chido, can you pull them in?
Paul, is it? Okay,
Mazi.
No. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, quickly.
Hello?
Yeah, quickly, Mazi.
Hello, am I in?
Yes.
Yeah, you're in.
Good evening from here.
Good evening.
I just joined this very program from Dakar, Senegal.
Okay. So what are you doing in Dakar?
I heard that. Sorry?
What are you doing in Dakar, Senegal?
Okay, I'm into business.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. So did you watch the senator when he was on?
Yes, I actually watched him and I understood all he said. But the problem we are having are our leaders. Do you get? I can recall before 2019 presidential election, both Middle Belt Elders Forum, some other leaders from Yoruba land, Ohaneze Ndibo in particular, they were all shouting, if Nigeria is not restructured, we are going to boycott. We are not going to be part of any other election. But today, they are no longer talking about that very restructuring. And that's restructuring of Nigeria lies the problem of Nigeria, which everybody knows. So running around the bush and everything cannot help. What stopped our leaders, for example, Eyinnaya Abaribe and those of them from Southeast, what stopped them from resigning from that very seat? Just take out a week protest and decide not to attend that very National Assembly in protest, asking the federal government to restructure Nigeria. They failed to do that. And you and I know that there is no way things will work out in Nigeria without Nigeria being restructured. So being political correctness cannot save us.
Thank you very much.
Igbo young men will continue running helter-skelters until things are being done in a rightful way. That is my contribution.
Thank you very much. We are really out of time, but we can accommodate 1 minute each for 2 people. Amechi, just 1 minute, and then Christopher quickly. Amechi, you can go first.
Program. I was listening to the conversation you had with the senator, and actually I was not really very satisfied with the way he responded to the last question you asked him concerning what he would do for Abia State, to change the situation back there. The senator is someone who is very dear to us. I believe a lot of Igbos, are very proud of him, and but he has to also know that if he is looking back home to say, okay, he wants to become the governor of Abia State, we're not expecting that he come in there and just follow the norm or like what every other person. We all know that the problems are real. The region is really in a kind of a very in disarray, put it that way. So he really has to put himself together. Yes, he's loved by many of our people. Whether he will win the election is another issue altogether. But we would want to see issues. We want to see issues. We want to see what exactly is he going to do. He shouldn't take the goodwill, that he has, or if eventually he gets there, he just sits there like every other person we've had, especially the recent set of governors. We really want to hear about issues. When he say he wants to sanitize, Abia State, what is he trying to say? What does sanitizing Abia State mean in concrete terms?
Thank you very much. We'll make sure he gets a link for the show's recording of the show. Finally, we have Ken Lord, please. Ken Lord, just 1 minute. Ken Lord, yes.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Ken Lord.
Yeah.
Mr. Shido and Rudolph, I greet you. I followed you. I joined you guys from Netherlands, Amsterdam precisely. So I followed the topic with our Senator Eyinnaya Abaribe. I'm from Imo State, and I'm from Mudi, the Olu zone. And I was at Mudi this Xmas period. A lot of things is happening in that our Olu place. It's hardly to say. That thing that is happening is not ESN, either IPO. Everybody knows. Even Senator Abaribe, he knows. But they are all politicians. I didn't say he's a bad man. They knows what is happening. But they are, they don't want to say it for them not to be that is they are the one that said it. This thing is political. So that thing that is happening in Imo State. I love what he said. That when it's happening in Imo State, the Anambra man might say, no, it's not for his state, but that thing is connecting to Imo State. Like from that also local government too, Newi, not also that also may, is joined to that place. From there to Ihiala, the same thing. The one that happened in Imo State also is joining to that Abia State. What am I saying? The Imo State now is the problem. This thing is not like ESN or whatever. When you go look at the APC people, I'm sorry to say, I don't want people to misunderstand me. Look at the APC, the two states that the APC is controlling. Look at what they are doing. What are they doing? They want to capture the whole Igbo land. And it's very bad. Our people will just sit down and looking at these people. Let us call a spade a spade. You understand? Look at the Ebonyi State and Imo State. What is happening there is the one that is happening in Ebonyi State is affecting Enugu State. The one that is happening in Imo State is affecting Abia and the Anambra State. We all know this thing. Let them try and call themselves and know how to handle these two people. That is the only thing that I can say. And
Thank
everybody knows. Yeah, thank you very
so
much. I don't want to take it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I thought that we could hear from Christopher. He was here a little bit before. We wanted to hear from him. But thank you, everybody that joined us on a programming note. Next week at the same time, we are going to come back with another important guest. So stand by and keep watching. We talk about the election in Kenya coming up in August. So we are going to get some guests from Kenya to talk to us. There are connections between what's happening in Kenya and what's going to happen in Nigeria next year. Also, on a programming note, we are going to come up with a show, really, where I enjoy this, where people talk back and have an opportunity to air their view. So I'm going to roll out a show sometime next week or the next one, so that you have an opportunity to stand and hang out with us and talk. Anybody can come in and join us. We can discuss this Nigerian situation in many ways. So I really appreciate all the people that joined us and everybody that watched from all the other parts of every part of the world. We appreciate your time and thank you for joining us. Chido.
Yeah, thank you guys for being part of this process. Please follow us on Facebook, just 90 Minutes Africa, on Twitter, 90 Minutes Africa, YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and on Instagram at 90 Minutes Africa. So it makes it easier for you to receive information and follow us. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And see you next week.
I mean, in principle,